Wham! Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
And good Saturday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to catch our drift. Joining me in studio, Ipsy Ed Bonderenka.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good to see you, man. Glad
Good to
you're
see
in.
you.
Thanks for bringing me the coffee.
I hope you enjoy it. I am.
I'm jacked up on it already.
This has caffeine.
I kind of figured it did. So there we go. Well, what we do on the drift every Saturday is go over the news we put on the Daily Drift. It's the news
That you need to know.
There you go. See, we're simpatico. Just like that. See,
Practice,
we're professionals.
practice, yes.
Yes, you would think. How long have we been doing this together now?
Oh, a year maybe?
Has it been a year? Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we do. So, let's take care of a little business. First National Bank. You might as well spend your money close to home. Use the local bank, First National Bank of Howell. You can call them at 734-449-7242. That's Angie McFarland, who's our banking manager at the Whitmore Lake office, but they've got several offices around town: Brighton, Fowlerville, Genoa, Heartland, Howell, and Whitmore Lake. You can also go to www.fnbh.com or call Angie, 734-449-7242. Good people. Angie's a great personality, a great banker. It's just a really good office. So, and I've been to the other ones as well, but Angie's really good. 734-449-7242. And if you missed the show live with Ed and I.
Why? Wait a minute. What's
Why
your
would you
problem?
Miss the show? Yes. You can catch us on Spreaker, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, and always archived at thedailydrift.com.
And occasionally I'll post it on my Facebook page, too.
Yeah, the pictures you put of me on Facebook. Again, I guess I'm just getting old when I look at it.
Oh, no, man. I thought it was good.
Okay, well, we got a special treat. You arranged to have another Senate candidate.
Yes.
For Michigan's state U.S. Senate position to try and get Debbie Stabenow out of there. We've got Bob Carr on the line. Bob, welcome to the show.
Well, glad to do it. I'm looking forward to it. Ed's been texting me and emailing me. So one of these days we'll meet in person. Right now we're going to do it over the telephone.
Yeah, well, we always enjoy being able to yuck it up a bit with our GOP candidates when they come, if they can find the time to come sit in the studio with us. And this is just a great place. You get to hang out in close quarters with Ed and I. And I showered this morning, so it'd be.
It does. It smells noticeably better in here. It smells like team spirit. Yeah.
All right. So, Bob, let's start out with why you want to put yourself in the position of running for a U.S. Senate candidate, among all things. I mean, the armpits of politics starts at the township level, really, but the pressure and everything else that goes with a U.S. Senate campaign, why do you want to get into this business?
Well, actually, there's no pressure because I've been under pressure all my life. I work in pressure situations. That's what I do. So I don't see it as pressure. But I was listening to your ad about First National Bank. For those of people that don't know, I grew up in over 20 foster homes, one of which was in Howell, Michigan. And I was going to first grade, I believe it was, when one night the door got kicked into the foster home house. My sister and I were grabbed, thrown in the car, and we ended up in Chicago and finally ended up with my mother. And during that next year, a year and a half, before the state of Michigan could go through the courts and get me back, I went to jail with my mother 3 times. That I can remember, her on one side of the bars and I on the other, and my sister. She was into prescription drugs, and she just couldn't give it up. So she had me kidnapped, she had me taken over there, and those kind of things. And so when people talk about pressure, I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, we all go through some things when we're growing up. I'm running for the United States Senate because I can win. I looked at the other candidates. I don't think they have a clue how to win. I think they have a clue. It's called money, and they think if they throw enough money, they're going to win. And it seems to me that they think they're more famous than they are, but also they just don't seem to have a reason to run other than they like the position. I'm a person who's worked all over the state of Michigan, changing towns. That's what I do. But before we go any further, I think I need to say that I did win a primary for the United States Congress in 1996, and it is the biggest district east of the Mississippi. I think then it was in the United States, and I did it against a famous football star / attorney for the largest law firm, and they spent well over $1 million against me, and I just beat the streets with my feet and went to every media station, every newspaper. Do not pass go. So when you say come into your offices, if I'm anywhere near you, you're going to see me popping in. All media is on the table for me. And so this was not on my radar, but I was down in Upton's district, and we were driving from Waterville to Hartford to Lawrence to Paw Paw, and the towns are, I say, completely boarded up. And they don't need to be. But no one has a clue how to turn these communities around without throwing huge money, and it doesn't need to be that way. It's a matter of philosophy with the citizens of the area. Why not use the beautiful architecture downtown? Let's get a theme and do it with the money that is from within, meaning your own business money, because you're going to spend it on a double wide out somewhere in the rural area anyway. And so I looked at it, and and then I'm watching the emails from all these Congress people and these senators, and they're talking about how much they hate this party or that party, and how the 14th part or the 15th part of health care is not perfect. Therefore, the whole thing el stinko, and I'm just I'm a problem solver. So I decided, I think I can beat these guys, and so I decided to run.
Okay, so for the people at home who may not have heard of your name before, give us a little background on what it is you're doing besides running. What you did as for a profession, and some of the things that you've done that would kind of translate over into being a U.S. Senator.
Well, I ended up tracing my roots back to Mackinac Island, and on my visit back in 1972, while I was working on Capitol Hill for a congressman, the lighthouse at Mackinac Island had been damaged by ice, so the big discussion was that it's time to tear it down. Well, I threw a fit, and so I wrote a letter to the editor after going to the State Park and the Grand Hotel and the city and everybody I could talk to, and went back home, and I received a call, would I come on up? So about today, in 1974, my wife and I honeymooned up here and began our effort to restore the lighthouse. I have done historic preservation, community development projects all over the state. And if you go to my website, electbobcarr.com, you'll see a list of 30 or 40 of the towns I use as examples. One of my most proud is the Benton Harbor Soup Kitchen. It was declared the worst town in America, so my wife and I decided, well, that's where we're going to go do a project. That project that we did was to provide a safe haven soup kitchen for the people of the streets there in Benton Harbor, which was the crime-laden town of all crime-laden towns under 100,000 people. Well, the idea was to use the food to get people into the kitchen, and then to have the camaraderie get them into responsibility and respect. And we're now on our 27th year. We did it without any grants. We did it without any taxes, using other people's money. And we limited the amount of donations to $500 per year per donor. And it's still operating and still operating debt-free.
Yeah,
and so I want to take that kind of philosophy and get into the communities. I'm going to, as a senator, work with every community mayor, township leader, and we're going to come up with the ways their towns can go from nothing and a standing start into being very vibrant. And it actually isn't going to take too long. But I need to get into the Senate in order to do that, because that gives you, I guess they call it the bully pulpit.
Okay. Yeah. Well, all right. So let me ask you this. I mean, and that's good, because I remember the first time I went into Benton Harbor. I think it was the late 80s, right? Mm-hmm. And I had crossed over from St. Joe into, I think I made a wrong turn. I don't remember why I was there. But I literally drove through, Bob, downtown Benton Harbor, and I went, have I just gone into the Twilight Zone?
Yeah,
because it was a completely intact town, but there was no people. Most things were boarded up. And it was eerie. It was really that eerie. I never forgot that to this very day. And this is, that was probably 86, maybe
early 90s. I did the same thing.
And our soup kitchen started in 1980, and we actually did live down there. And we're feeding then, and they're feeding now into the hundreds every day. And we've not missed a day. It's never closed.
Yeah.
Well, Bob,
and so the idea was to see if we couldn't change the rationale of people's thinking, and they're thinking they have no hope. And Benton Harbor's starting to grow. Now, what's very interesting is that there's one of the candidates is running, and he uses BAD and then ASS. He's really going to be tough. Well, you come down to the Benton Hotel and look at room 201 where we stayed while we were doing the soup kitchen at the corner of Water Street and Territorial. And if you think you're tough, you're not anywhere near tough as what we were.
However, that's a tough town, that's for sure.
The success of the program was not because we were tough. It's because we were kind. And so when a politician starts running like that, it sort of just makes it so that I'm doubly determined to go and take that Senate seat, because it's time that we get people inspired and show them the tools, and to talk about it every day in our daily briefings and so on, and paint a picture.
Okay. So let me ask you, though, going into the U.S. Senate, there are things that have got to be done, because we all know that no matter whether you like what Paul Ryan does on the congressional side or not, at least the House, because we have Tim on once a month, our congressman down here, and the House side is at least getting things done, but nothing, absolutely nothing is getting done in the Senate. So this is the question I want to ask you. Would you support going to 51 votes in the Senate instead of the 60 votes that we've used for the last 50 years, 40, whatever
70,
it is?
yeah.
All right? That, for me, is the big killer, because unless you start using 51 votes, and I mean for everything, not just for nominations, for everything, because you're never going to get 60 votes when the nation is as divided and Washington is as filled with obstructionists as it is. Do you support using 51 votes in the Senate?
Well, I think you can, but now if the shoe was on the other foot, we'd probably say no.
Well, and that's the point I'm trying to make, Bob, because had the Democrats...
It depends which party's in power, and they want to get things done. However, I don't buy into the fact that we can't get 60 votes. I think the leadership is wrong. I think the tenure of the leadership is wrong. The candidate on the Democrat side, who's now the sitting senator, she used to use my office, by the way, when she was a congresswoman. She'd come to Traverse City, and I had an office in the Traverse City airport. She spends her time emailing every day about what's wrong with the Republicans and what's wrong with Trump. We didn't elect her to do that. We elected her to take care of Michigan. She is the Michigan United States Senator. Unfortunately now, these elected senators become the willingly or unwillingly, knowingly or unknowingly, the hatchet people for party politics.
That is exactly right.
That does not need to take place, but that means the leadership has to take control. And when the leadership views themselves as the hatchet people against the other party, you're not going to have those people working together. However, in the past, we did have Democrats and Republicans working together. And so in the future, we're going to have Democrats and Republicans working together, because people like me are going to say enough already. When I run for the United States Senate, I'm going to talk about it's not just one party.
Well, that sounds good, Bob.
You're not doing a service to us by being so divided.
It's
not necessary.
Yeah.
I think it's very amateurish.
Yeah,
go
Bob.
Sometimes I wonder if it is.
Hold on, Bob.
Too much money to get into a position, they're in a position.
All right, Ed, go.
Well, Bob, I just wanted to say it sounds good working together and working across the aisle, in a spirit of bipartisanship to accomplish goals. But when you had Harry Reid, who would refuse when he had the majority to bring anything to the floor, and now when you have Chuck Schumer, who now that he can't block stuff from coming to the floor, but he threatens every Democratic senator with lack of funding, lack of office position, whatever he can do, and promising to primary them. if they don't withhold their votes from Republican projects, you're not going to see the kind of bipartisanship